blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen, cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
What's up and welcome back to Blursed, everybody. This is your boy Hayden back again on a Tuesday, April 25th. It's draft week, and I'm here with the incomparable Bleezy Blake Dodd. What's up, buddy?
And with the 8th pick of the 2023
do it.
NFL Draft,
Don't you
Atlanta
do
Falcons select. I don't know. We'll find out on Thursday. What's up, everybody?
You gotta wait and listen to that.
You gotta wait till Thursday.
Yeah, there you go. It's finally draft week. I feel we've been talking about the draft for so long now. It's super exciting.
It is. I'll be honest. The NFL does the best offseason of any sport.
Yes.
The way they do the free agency into the draft into then you have the lull. Obviously, you have the OTAs and you don't really care during the summer as much. You still get some movement after the June 1st deadline. There's a couple of vets that get signed, but it is the most entertaining to me.
Yeah, and then I feel like fantasy football helps the void and the gaps too, especially if anybody plays dynasty leagues. We're actually starting a dynasty league this year, and so that's you always will have a rookie draft at the beginning. Yep. So right after the NFL draft, after you know where people are going, so that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to that this year for sure.
It is exciting, and we will talk about our dynasty league every year for the rest of our lives on this podcast, so we can talk about who's winning, who's not. And I'm trying to argue that we should have keepers so I can keep Koo for 15 years. So we'll see.
That's what a dynasty league is.
Keep kickers, sorry.
Oh, keep them in the league.
Kickers. Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't know what a dynasty league is, it means you keep basically your entire roster, at least 20 different roster spots from year over year. So it's kind of like you're playing Madden on franchise mode or something. Yeah, like that.
I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very competitive league. But yeah, I don't know. I think NBA also, for just to talk about free agency and sports, I really like NBA's only because there's always big moves, always a trade. And we'll get a little bit into that in the Hawks segment to talk about why that happens every year in the NBA more than other sports. But
it's weird how the off seasons in different sports, it's way quieter in baseball, I feel like, but I feel like baseball has a way better all-star game than
every sport has their pluses and minuses.
But the home run derby is awesome, and I feel like NFL is trying to improve theirs and work on that angle too. But it's just interesting how each sport has their strength.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I enjoyed the Pro Bowl this year and the way they did the flag football, but I know a lot of old heads didn't like that as much. They're like, what's this flag football? But I mean, you don't want the players to get hurt anyway, so let's let them have fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
It's tough with the high contact sports. But yeah, we've been busy out here in Colorado. My sister and my brother-in-law were out here, and so we went and ate a lot of food and drank a lot of beer. It's nice. Fort Collins is known for the brewery scene, so there's about 50 of them, and anything that closes down, we're always like, oh, that's going to become a brewery.
Are those mountains blue?
Oh yeah, it's good. There's a good scene out here, so we had a good time, and getting settled back into the work week is not fun after that, but. How about you, man? Awesome. What'd you get up to?
We went to Lemonade Days in Dunwoody. So it was this little festival they do. It was a lot of fun. We just walked over to the park and listened to some live music, got some lemonade, enjoyed some popsicles. It was a good time. Yeah. Honestly, just had a great time. A lot of fun. It was beautiful. Out? High of 70. Yeah. We're actually having that. We've now gone up, down, up, down. Now we're in that normal spring for a couple of weeks, hopefully. So keep your fingers crossed. But the rest of this week's supposed to be nice temperature. So Atlanta's looking good like always this time of year before the heat comes in.
It's funny because Atlanta's the fall spring is it drops back down to maybe in the 40s or 50s and it gets a little bit nippy, but then the other days will be super hot. And then here in Colorado, it's the fall spring is oh, it's snowing again. It snowed on Friday. We're it's been in the 70s all week, and then boom, right back in the snow.
Yeah, so, I saw your wife's Instagram story. It was I was just out here reading yesterday, and the next day it's snow covered your entire porch. Yep. It's cool.
Still learning about how that changes. So it's take you by surprise, but got to stay diligent and prepared for the weather.
I have a question. We get any new YouTube subscribers that we can shout out?
Oh,
I saw we've gone up a little bit.
You know what? I decided I was going to shout out the people that join our Discord too. So,
oh, nice.
Shout out to Aaron Anderson, our newest YouTube subscriber that I'm actually able to see. And then on Discord, we have DJ Rogers, Sam Swain, and Dan and Sanderson. Thanks for joining, guys. We appreciate you chipping in and getting in the conversation with us. It's always fun to chop it up a little bit, especially gets us prepared for the episodes even more. Gets me fired up.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I was saying Blursed Nation, not only are we growing, but two, if you're not in the Discord and you want to talk more sports with us, join the Discord. It is the best way it's been super active. Every single channel. We talk even beyond just Atlanta sports. We've been talking about other sports as well. We talked about the Dylan Brooks, LeBron James little saga. We talking about Aaron Rodgers today as he just got traded to the Jets, Jets, Jets. Yeah, it's been fun. And honestly, it helps us bring up different opinions and point of views that we might not talked about otherwise. So it's been good to have.
And you don't have to be a fan of all Atlanta sports to hop in there. We have guys that prefer other like NFL teams or baseball teams or whatever. But, it's good to get that perspective as well. And like they may live in the state or whatever. But if you want to join, it's at discord.io/blursports. You can type that into your web browser and it'll get you locked and loaded, ready to go in the Discord.
Also in the show link below.
It's also in the show notes below. It's probably an easier way to do it. So
just click the link, join.
Good call. All right, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Worst of the week.
I am gonna make you go first because you're youngest, and I'm making this up on the fly.
No, you're good. I mean, I could come up with several right now. I think mine will be I was going to say my Blursed of the week was going to be people hating on like Trae Young because he's gotten a lot of hate going to the playoffs. But you can't hate him because he's been by far the Hawks' best player in the playoffs. And I guess the Blursed is that the roster is just not built the way it needs to be. And something I mentioned earlier is that talking about in the NBA, you see a bunch of big movements every offseason. It's because if you don't, like we in the Eastern Conference Finals run we had, if you don't win, it's because your team's not good enough. And a lot of teams think, we can just develop these players a little bit more and they'll make it the next year. But the problem is every other team reloads. Every other team goes out and gets better players. And maybe the marginal increases you have in player development can get you there. And sometimes it does. But unless you have LeBron James on your team, I just don't see it happening. If you look at the Toronto Raptors this year, they were banking on it. And they didn't even make the playoffs because of player development not happening the way they thought it would.
That is interesting because like in other sports, you feel like the players will develop a little bit more like in the NFL or in Major League Baseball. But in the NBA, it feels like they either have it or they don't. And that's why you see like all these lottery picks at the top of the draft. Those are always very important picks because that can turn your entire franchise around if one player hits.
Absolutely. And you see like Jason Tatum, I will say like him and Trae Young both, they've improved every year. And they're the reasons their teams are getting in the right. Heck, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are like the reason the Boston's probably the best team in the NBA or one of the best teams right now. But the point is they retooled. They went and got Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason. They brought Al Horford back the last year. Like they did things to set themselves up for that. And I think that's something that we did a little bit this year, getting DJM in here. But next year, we're really going to have to retool to build a team around Trae the right way. And I trust Coach Quinn. So I'm excited to talk about Hawks here in a little while. But that's my Blursed. It's just is the Eastern Conference Finals run from a couple of years ago is my Blursed of the week. I know it's in the past, but it set us up to where we're at now.
Oh man, I don't know. It raised expectation too really quick, and then it didn't happen. So hopefully, maybe next year's the year.
And I think that's a great point you just made because I think Trae Young is considered an underrated player is because of that playoff run he had where he went nuclear and was beating teams he shouldn't have beaten that early, and it set expectations for him probably higher than he could reach during this time. But let's look like. NBA players don't reach their prime till the year 5, year 7, and then they stay in that prime for another 7 years. So Trae is only 24, I think, at this point. He's not even 25 yet. Wow. We got time. Not worried.
He's young. All right. My Blursed of the week. I'm going to stick with my Braves because that's what I know best. I'm going to say the fact that Marcell Ozuna is the lowest rated Major League Baseball player with at least 50 plate attempts.
That just sounds bad.
He is the worst in terms of WAR, in terms of average. He's hitting under 100 still. He has 4 hits on the year.
Aren't 2 of those homers?
2 of them are homers and 1 double. So you know what? The slugging per contact is not bad, but it feels like he's just rolling over the ball. It's hard to say what's happening. The reason that it's blessed is because I'm just hoping it's just pushing more and more that we are going to cut him at some point, because it's impossible to have that hole in your lineup, and it's crazy that he is still getting playing time.
Well, the blessed side could be, I think Acuna is actually the opposite of him. He's the top rated player in all of baseball right now with the highest WAR. And so you have the number one player, and then you have the worst player within one batting first, one batting seventh on the same team. It's
offsetting everything that Acuna is working so hard for. But yeah, so it's a little frustrating, but maybe the time is coming soon. And if you haven't checked out our TikTok, basically our entire TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts is us shitting all over Marcell Ozuna, rightfully so, deservingly so. I'll say
deservingly so. Yes, he deserves it. But,
all right, I guess we'll tie on Blursed of the week since we don't have a number. We don't have a
yeah. No, I'm gonna go. I don't pick Braves as the subject matter because I mean, if you look at our home and away splits this season, it really has been Blursed to a tale of two teams, and also the Blursed you mentioned last week is kind of carried over the injuries. Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago when you said that, but it's a problem. It's not a big problem because we're still winning. But it is a problem in the sense that night in and night out, you're going to want these guys, Michael Harris.
Let's go Iglesias. There. Let's get into the
Braves.
All right. So as Blake said, yeah, these injuries, they feel like they're starting to hurt us more and more. A lot of them are nagging injuries. We did get Max Fried back, who came back, started 2 games against the Padres and the Astros, which are 2 really good teams and good lineups. He didn't give up 1 earned run. So it's just adding up though. So Michael Harris is still out. He hasn't started taking BP yet. He's doing little. Oh, he did
today.
Okay, today.
Yeah, Rossiel Iglesias pitched against him, and he said, "I'm glad he's on our team."
Yeah. All right. That's good. That's all. That was another update I was going to give. I saw he was going to throw some live BP. So after that, if that was successful and he doesn't have shoulder pain, then I would expect Iglesias to be going down to Gwinnett probably and throwing 2 or 3 times, getting him ready, and then hopefully back as our closer, as that crushed us this weekend. And nothing against Minter. He's a great bullpen guy. He's more of a setup guy, though, and that's what we've seen his role be in the past, even when Will Smith was here and Tyler Matzik was healthy, and Luke Jackson was in town. So, yeah, it's not his role. The second he blew 2 saves this past weekend, which is tough, and it's against a really good Astros team.
A really good Astros team. What's crazy about that, too, is if you look at our home and away splits when it comes to these, our ERA, we have like the best ERA in baseball away from SunTrust, but when we're home, it's been bad. And part of it, maybe it's the pressure of closing the 9th at home crowd watching. Like maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Like I don't know what goes in the mind of a closer, but it is weird the splits we've had, the differences we've had in pitching home and away.
Yeah, you just hope that it doesn't get in Minter's head because he's a good player and like we need him to be successful for sure. But yeah, it also ties in with like he's being worked a lot right now. Dylan Lee has also been worked a lot. He's been solid, but like he wasn't available on Sunday to use really. Jesse Chavez finally gave up some runs to the Astros as well. So Colin McHugh should be coming back this week as well, who he's been dealing with shoulder pain. So that both those guys, Iglesias and McHugh, are probably 2 of our top 3 relievers. So they'll be back here in the next 2 weeks. That'll be extremely helpful to Minter, and he'll get to settle back into his normal role.
Absolutely. It'll be nice, too, to get Soroka back, too, so you can flex some of these pitchers you have in the bullpen for these long relief stints or something, because we have so much pitching talent. It's not that the talent's not there.
Yeah, I kind of think we could see Elder move into a long relief role. And then, if we need to slot him in. Yeah, he's been very good, especially against the Astros. I was surprised. We ended up losing that game, but he was pretty solid. Last year we slotted him in against teams that were weaker, and that was successful. But against better teams, we had a hard time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Soroka has made 4 starts now. His last start, he threw like over 90 pitches. He has under a 2 ERA in AAA. So the time is near for
I hope
Mike Soroka to be on the major league mound again. Hopefully at Truist, because that'll be nuts. I know he'll be nervous, but man, he's a big guy. He's still super young. I think he's only 24 still.
Yeah, wasn't he like 21 when he came up or whatever?
He was our ace at 21 years old. Better than Max Fried. People forget that.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if he'll ever get back to that, but what if? Like, what if he came in and he was just number 1 again and like you have him, Freed, Strider, Wright as your top 4. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, I just
man, it's incredible. So, hoping for the best there. And then also Darno, he's taking batting practice as well, so he's expected to be back this week, maybe mid to late week. So that'll be huge because we have a huge hole in our lineup at DH, and that would be awesome for him to be able to ease back into catching after suffering from a concussion, and let Sean Murphy catch and Darno can DH, because Sean has become one of our best hitters. He's been hitting cleanup and doing a damn good job of it. And it seems like everybody's chilled out a little bit about that acquisition since he started hitting. It wasn't too long ago.
It has been crickets.
He wasn't getting consistent at bats at the beginning of the season because Ozuna was playing so much at DH. But now with the Darno injury, he's been catching almost every day, and he's been hitting every day, and that has an impact. Like if you're not getting to consistently get at bats, it's hard to get into a groove. And Absolutely. He's found it, and he hits the ball really hard, and it's fun to watch.
A couple of interesting things for me is Hilliard.
Yep.
Hilliard. He's been excellent. Yes. And I really think when Michael Harris comes back, you can just slot him into left field.
Yes.
Like, just let him play every day. He's been excellent. And I think it's going to be one of the ways we get Ozuna out of here, is because he's been so good. Grissom has been very good.
At hitting.
Hitting. Yeah, right. Hitting. Dude, Shoemake's actually tearing it up right now in the minors.
Yep,
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. So we may see a swap here.
What do you have, like 11 steals or 9 steals? I don't know, some ridiculous numbers I was seeing.
He's a bunch of steals. He's up hitting over 300 now. So maybe we see a change if Vaughn continues to struggle defensively this week. Because like against a team like the Astros, you make 2 errors in a game, you're not going to be able to. Yeah, you're going to lose. Like 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that game. So, the Astros are defending champions, and they take advantage of those things.
I mean, the biggest thing, too, that hurt us, I don't know if you're going on your
go
agenda,
ahead.
But like timely hitting, I feel like this last series, too, you have your 2 and 3 hole are killing you right now. And it sucks to say that, but Olsen and Riley's hasn't been the best. I saw since he signed that big contract. I don't think that's going to continue. I think he will get back on it. He started the last couple of years kind of slow and has gotten heated up as the years gone on. Not too worried, but it's killing you that Acuna's getting on base every single bat almost, and Olsen and Riley have been striking out, hitting double plays, not getting contact. Just heck, Acuna's putting himself in scoring position. Even if he hits a single, because he's going to steal that first base or that second. Yeah, like he's
going to have 40 stolen bases this year. That's incredible.
He's on pace for 88 right now. I don't think he's going to stick with that, but he could hit 60 with the new rules. Like he could easily hit 60.
I would expect you'll see a little bit more of a power surge in the next couple of weeks from Acuna as he's like starting to get even more settled into the season. So you might see a little bit more strikeouts and more power. But yeah, that's part of the reason that we lost 4 straight. So we in San Diego, we were playing well. We capped at 8 wins straight, which is incredible. And then, the last day in San Diego, the bats went quiet. We lost 1-0. And then we just couldn't find it again. The bullpen struggled, and guys went cold at the same time. If you have 2 of your best hitters go cold at the same time, it's going to be hard to score, especially when the bottom of your lineup looks completely different because we have so many injuries.
Every day. Yeah. I think that's something we mentioned too last week, was that it doesn't matter what the rest team is doing when your 3 best players are hitting like they are. And of course they cooled off. So we're starting to see the fall. But I'll say this, you should still win a game where you score 4 runs or 3 runs. Like those are winnable games. Like
winnable. Yeah. I know. Starting pitching has been solid.
Yeah. And I know new baseball is a little different now, where like you kind of got to score 3, 4, 5 runs to win a game just because you're seeing more runs scored. But you still got to win those games if you get there. Something interesting to me. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll say something interesting to me too is if you look around baseball right now, the best teams, like all the teams that people thought were going to be the best, were the Braves, the Mets, the Dodgers. You also in the American League, you would have thought the Yankees, the Blue Jays, Astros. But what's funny is like a lot of those teams aren't leading their division right now. So the Mets are only half a game behind us. They've caught up. It's probably because we're 4-6 at home and 10-2 away. Pirates though lead the Central right now, 16-7. Been kind of crazy. The Rays lead the American League East with 19-3.
Jesus,
which is nuts. They're a perfect 13-0 at home right now. Dodgers are in first place in the West, but they are basically tied with the Diamondbacks and Padres, all 3 right there. 12-11, 12-11, 12-12. Yeah. So it just shows you that like some of this stuff's not going to stick the rest of the season because it's baseball. But two, you never really know who are going to be those dark horses to start the year, and it's always one of my favorite parts about baseball.
Yeah, for sure. And like you see teams like the Orioles, they're kind of coming out of the woodworks this year too. They have a lot of young players. Same with the Pirates. Like finally, after
young guys,
20 years of trying to rebuild, they may have done something here, but we'll see if those stick.
But even the Marlins are above 500.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We haven't gotten into division play too much yet, so
true.
We may be sending them back down to Miami upset this week, hopefully. With Strider on the mound tonight at home against the Marlins, so hopefully that's a get-right game. That's definitely a winnable matchup. You should be the better of that. But I will say, as far as left field goes, when Michael Harris gets back, Sam Hilliard has been hitting it pretty well. Great defense. He robbed a home run last week. Seen some diving catches. And then Kevin Pillar has also been very solid in left field defensively, and he hit a home run last week as well.
Absolutely.
So, originally we thought the platoon would be Rosario and Ozuna some, and we didn't know who the other guy would be. But now Rosario's struggling mightily at the plate too. So, and because he's not as good defensively as Sam Hilliard, we may be seeing a platoon of Kevin Pillar and Sam Hilliard the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because that's how solid they've been. And, Hilliard only really hits against righties since he's a left-handed bat. So he struggles against lefties. So that's why you don't see him get many opportunities there. Just historically, he hasn't hit lefties well. But, you keep playing and hitting the ball and fielding the ball, then you're going to get opportunity. So it's there for him for the taking, really, because nobody else has stepped up in years to play left field.
No. I mean, you had Duvall, but he played center too, though. So it's a little different. But I completely agree, and I think we have a nice stable of bats that can play left field, which just tells you I think Azuna's writing's on the wall, man. I just think as soon as the team gets healthy, I think you'll see. Because who do we just see? I think it was the Diamondbacks swallowed a ton of money and they cut Bumgarner.
Yep.
They designated him. So I could see the Braves following suit. There's 2 years left on that contract. Basically the same amount of money owed as that we owe Azuna. I could see something similar happening where we do the same exact thing. We're just waiting for the bodies to get.
Some people are speculating that the Braves may be waiting until Ozuna hits 10 years vested in the league, so that opens up a lot of different options for retired players and what they get out of their retirement from Major League Baseball. But my argument to that is that dude's going to get a lot of free money because of a guaranteed contract of over $50 million. So he doesn't need that. If he has any type of financial planner, then he'll be fine. So I don't think that should be a consideration.
But maybe it's one of those things where I don't know if this is true, but you hear it sometimes oh, this team takes care of me. You see the Falcons, Cordell Patterson does nothing but speaks very highly about Art Smith and Terry and says these guys will help you work with you. Maybe it's the same thing with the Braves. We want to be an organization that knows to treat their players right. I don't know. I feel we do that though with buying people out of arbitration and but you don't know. There's a culture behind it too that we don't see.
Two perspectives on that, and obviously we fall in that it's good for the players to go ahead and get their money before they have to go through free agency, so that way it's security for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they can make up that top end money in other ways. You see Ozzy and Acuna, they're in a ton of commercials and stuff this year. They're getting endorsements. There's rumors that Acuna is going to be Nike's cover athlete for Major League Baseball, which rightfully so. He's a very exciting player to watch, and he has a lot of personality. But yeah, hopefully we cut bait here sooner than later, get the hole out of the lineup, and it's going to be tough to play him when these guys start coming back because there's absolutely zero reason that d'Arnaud should be on the bench instead of DHing instead of Ozuna. Or really anybody else on the team.
Anybody else on the bat or anybody else on the team. Yeah. Anyone with a bat on the team should be batting before it's
honestly, Max Fried is a pretty good hitter for a pitcher. He won the Silver Slugger for pitchers the last year.
I've missed having that little advantage you had when you played at home against American League team. You know what I mean? And you can bring out Max Fried a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get why they did it. I think it was an advantage for the American League for so long, and you saw that in All-Star games and in the World Series too, because they have actual hitters that
they have an extra batter.
Yeah, but so they got so many more at bats through the year for that player that a National League team didn't. But Either way,
they also would spend money on a good designated hitter. It was worth it. It was worth keeping a big poppy because he could slam the ball out of the park as a DH, and he would have no business being on any NL team.
yeah, no, he really wouldn't be able to play
He
first
wouldn't
base
have.
long term,
No.
just sporadically. But yeah, I don't know. I really wish we could fill that left field hole, and like that feels like the only position that we don't know what we're doing with, and we don't have direction. So maybe we see Vaughn get sent back down if he keeps struggling defensively.
Play some left field.
Put him in left field, man. If he can freaking hit, and that's the most important thing. Then we can find a spot for him on the field, and that's the spot that we got open right now.
I feel like if you played baseball all your life, learning how to play left field can't be too hard.
No, left field is the easiest position. Like
in baseball?
Yeah, that's where you put your like least athletic outfielder, and usually it's somebody that can hit really well. Like Nelson Cruz still plays left field occasionally. And he's like 40 something years old.
Yeah, Matt Diaz played left field for us when he platooned, and he looked like just someone's dad out there.
He's a freaking potato out there. Yeah. He's you don't have to be a superstar athlete. You just got to be a good hitter.
That's what I love about Matt Diaz. It just looked like one of your friends' fathers are out there at the bat.
He looked a little out of place for sure.
He did. It's awesome.
Looked like a softball player. Slow pitch.
Oh man.
Yeah, hopefully the Braves get it turned around tonight versus the Marlins. Definitely should. Somebody's got to start hitting the ball besides Ronnie. I will say that Ozzie
Where's
had a really good
week
too.
at?
Oh no, not at all. I'm not worried. If these were long-term injuries, I'd be more concerned because the bottom half of our lineup is weak. But that's just baseball, man. And like the Braves didn't get swept at all last year, which is pretty. They were the only team to not be swept,
which is incredible. Yeah.
So that's not gonna continue. It's statistically unlikely for that to happen 2 years in a row or ever.
Yeah.
So we won 8 games and then we lost 4. You're going to take that every time, winning twice as many games as you lose.
Absolutely.
So, hopefully we get the bats woken up a little bit. All you need is one more guy to get hot, and it'll start piecing together.
You want woke bats?
Yeah.
Weird.
Woke bats.
We want woke bats. Band name called it. Do you want to go touch base on the United real quick?
Ooh, yeah. Let's. Oh, yeah, we don't have a button. Atlanta United.
5 stripes. Here is Sam's Soccer Sag, brought to you by the Blakey D this week. 5 Stripes won their game. That they went up. This is just a quick synopsis of the game. What happened? Gigi scored it in his 5th consecutive game. I think this is a weird stat here, but I think it may be the most consecutive goals for a player who's just started on a new team, like in a row from his first game. Scored a goal in the first half. It was the first half we should have honestly be losing, but we were lucky to escape with a 1-0 lead at halftime. Going into the second half, they score in like the 89th minute to tie the game up. So it felt like how we stole a game earlier this year. It kind of felt like that, like, oh my gosh. But because of injuries in this game, there were 8-9 minutes of stoppage time. And we score off a corner that we win. And here's something else. We play Wednesday, and this is important. So I talked to Aaron about this last night, and he told me why this is super important. We play Wednesday, so our coach took out our 2 best players, Gigi and Moreno, or Almada, either beginning second half, just because he wants them to be well rested for the next game. It kind of looked like we were going to win this game already. And also, it's better to get a tie and a win and a tie than a loss. You know what I mean? Like a loss later on.
Sure.
Save those legs. So we were struggling offensively in the second half. When they scored that goal, it's like, well, that's the game. Like, it's just going to be a tie, chalk it up. We win a corner in the last minute of the game, and our favorite player, Juanjo, heads the ball off the corner into the defender's back into the goal, and we went on a walk-off header.
Just how you draw it up. Just
how you drew it up. Yeah, I mean, that's what he's known for. That's what he's done since he's gotten to Atlanta. And I don't know, never happens to see walk-off wins in soccer, but that's our second walk-off win this year. I'll say, people tend to argue, well, they're not winning these games decisively. They're not winning these games. But what I like to argue back is that learning how to win, no matter what, is very important. No matter how that win came to be, you could call it luck. Someone could be fighting through adversity. Finding ways to win is is the characteristics of a good team. And I just think Atlanta United's a good team. Yeah, and that's what we're seeing.
They've shown that so far.
Yeah, we have another huge game Wednesday. Let me make sure I know who it is for. I think it's Nashville, but I want to make sure. Yeah, Nashville is this coming Saturday. This Wednesday we play Memphis. So this is part of the Open Cup. It's basically a 3-game week because we do play Nashville, and that's back to our normal schedule on Saturday. So big games. Hopefully we keep winning. I know Aaron's super happy right now. If he was here, he'd be screaming about how good this is. For all our soccer fans, I hope this was enough for you.
And that's Talking Soccer.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for sponsoring this.
What do you want to talk about next?
Let's go Hawks into football because football's going to be our biggest topic.
Fair enough.
Hawks.
So, everybody, we now sit down 3-1. I want to start off saying to all of you who have been listening to podcasts, your expectations are probably somewhere around where we're at right now. Winning 1 game, maybe getting 2 in this series, taking to 6 would be cool. And that's what we've been saying. So for us, we're not mad because our expectations were set at the right spot. So that way we can actually have good conversations about this. Does that mean we'd like to see our players win more games? Absolutely. We would like to see us beat the Boston Celtics. Do I think what's going to happen? No. And is it a bad thing that doesn't happen? No. I mean, you're seeing the better team win here.
Yeah. Expectations are important for sure.
They are important. It sets you up for success, and it saves you from heartbreak, and it also saves you from anger. So something I thought was super cool is all year we were wondering if we're going to get out of DeJounte Murray come playoffs, and was it worth it? Absolutely, it's been worth it. DeJounte Murray has been the 3rd best player on the court this playoffs. I would say Jason Tatum's been the best, Trae Young's been the 2nd best, DeJounte Murray's been the 3rd best, and then comes Jaylen Brown, which is more than what we could say before him. He's been fantastic. He's averaged, I posted it earlier. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. He's averaged 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.8 assists in the 4 games so far. That's incredible. Yeah. Trey's been even better than that. He's averaged 26.8 points, 9.5 assists. He's averaged 1.8 steals. DeJounte's 2.3 steals. And Trey's averaged how many rebounds? I didn't say it right. Or rebounds, 4. Yeah, Trey's averaged 4 rebounds. Pretty good for him. Yep. So our stars have been excellent. They have literally been the reason why we're even in these games. If you look at games 2 and 4, which are 2 games that we lost, we actually in game 2 out rebounded the Celtics and should have won that game, but we couldn't buy a shot. We couldn't make a 3-point shot the entire game. That's why Boston beat us. They scored 21 threes. We only scored 9, I think, or something like that. And threes are worth more than 2. So that's how you're going to win that game.
Math.
Yeah, the math. We out rebounded in game 3, which we won that game. And then game 4 it was a super close game, but the same thing. Boston's just better. If you look at the scoring from the series, Trey and Murray scored 107, 101 respectively. Tatum scored 114 through the 4 games. And then Brown, White, and Smart are the next 3 players who scored the most. Those are all Boston players. Hunter comes in right behind Smart at 67, Bogdanovich at 50, and then Brogdon, Williams, and then 3 more Hawks players. So if you notice, Boston's core is just doing better than ours. When it comes to rotate, what am I trying to say? Your role players. So star-wise, we've been great.
Depth is important, and
it is.
It shows in the playoffs more than anywhere.
I think you see the biggest hole right now for the Hawks, and this is the one thing that we do need to talk about as we're going into the offseason, because I would love to see us win this next game, which would be cool. So we don't talk about offseason yet, but something we have to look at is John Collins has 30 points in 4 games. He's only scored 30 points. That includes only 5 points and 5 rebounds this last game in 25 minutes. He's been awful. And I'll say this, we already knew John Collins wasn't the best in playoffs. He hasn't been great in playoffs basically his whole career. He's only had a handful of great playoff games. But he's giving you replacement level, below replacement level stats from a starting 4. And the worst part was Bay and Okongwu and Bogdanovich also weren't scoring that well either off the bench. So we really just didn't have an answer in this last game. But Collins is your odd man out right now and probably the biggest person you're going to trade in the offseason. But his trade value is tanked.
You think he just doesn't fit into Quinn's system or what?
I don't think he fits since we got Clint Capella, which is going to be we've had Clint Capella for 3 years now, but they do a lot of the same stuff, but Capella is better at all the stuff that Collins is. The only one upside Collins had was he was a plus shooter, but Collins, ever since he's messed up his finger, has been such a spotty shooter. Some games he looks like he's old John Collins, some games he doesn't. He just doesn't fit. He is the odd man out.
So
He
do we
doesn't.
trade him and like we get something in return and that's our new 4, or is it somebody off the bench? Is it Bay that's going to be slotted in there and we're just going to be a better team with him?
So it's going to be really dependent on whether a star. So if and this is a conversation we'll definitely get into in the offseason. If a star is available, we'll move mountains to get a star, whether it be the Jaylen Brown or someone like that. I don't know if that happens. And if that doesn't happen, I bet you see us moving John Collins for like a first round pick and maybe not more past that. I think what you'll see then starting would be, like you said, Sadiq Bey will start along with like Jalen Johnson. They may bring in someone else like a Dorian Finney-Smith who can play defense and score some threes. But really, like, I don't, we have so many good young players on the team. You kind of got to just get a little younger this next offseason, bring in some rookie contracts, bring in some first round picks, and let these young guys develop some more. And then you're going to compete for the next year, which sounds weird. I don't think we compete for the finals next. What I'm trying to say, I don't think we compete for the finals in 2024. It'll probably be the 2025, 20, you know what I'm saying? 2024, 2025 season, not the 23, 24 season. And reason so is just because I think we'll be a better team next year because we'll be built around Trey, but we're going to let these young guys keep developing. So
it's not what you want to hear that we're still 2 years out.
And the worst part is if you look at these Hawks like team, we're good enough to beat some of these other teams in the Eastern Conference. Like Philly just swept the Nets in 4 games. The Knicks right now are up 3-1 against the Cavs. Like I would have loved for us to play the Cavs. We match up really well against them. But this is what happens when you don't take this regular season serious. You're going to play the hardest teams come playoffs. And we're playing the hardest team in the East right now, the worst matchup for us.
I mean, coaching goes a long way too, so hopefully that will make more of an impact as we get longer into Snyder's.
I think it will. You've already seen Trey bounce back this year. This playoffs has been a homecoming, coming out party for him again. So he's back to putting up just absurd numbers in the playoffs. And I mean, I shared the tweet earlier. Mike Bell, our 99 The Game, one of our favorite pundits from there, said, "This year has been a return to the superstar stuff we saw from Trey Young in the 21 playoffs. Quinn Snyder has his back and we'll get the most out of him." He said, it's time for the sporting cast that has to go. So people are trying to realize, oh, wait, Trey's not the issue. It's like, of course, he was. He's never the issue.
Isn't that the guy that was like, oh, we're going to need to trade
Trey?
Like 3 weeks ago? Fuck that guy.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about radio. You can wish-wash your points all the time. Here on the podcast, we will stand by it. And if we're wrong, we will say we're wrong. And we'll just chalk it up and move on to something else. So because
we're better than them.
We are better than them. But that's all I have Hawks right
integrity.
Now. We do have integrity. I'll say the good news about the Hawks have been Trey's been awesome. DJM has shown that he can work with Trey, and I think he's worth keeping next year for sure. Bogdanovich has showed that he can be a proven scorer off the bench. Hunter has even shown that when he's on, but he showed that last year too. So I still don't know what will happen to him. And also, Okongwu has been the only one where his playoffs been not so good, but it's because their big guys they don't do. Okongwu's great at defending the rim. Their big guys space a lot and then cut to the rim, so it's a little bit harder.
Tough pacing and mismatch there.
Yes, sir.
Hoping that the Hawks can get one more win in the series at least, make it competitive, and mostly so I can get a fire TikTok out there because I have one planned.
It's ready, guys. Winning. So also, DeJounte Murray may get suspended, and if that happens, we're going to need a 50-point game out of Trey. I'm calling the shot now. If it happens, he's going to score 50, and we're going to win game 5. Yeah, so.
Is it in Boston or Atlanta?
It's in Boston, too, so it'd be the ultimate,
be a tough one.
Trey, yeah.
All right, well, that's the Hawks for today. Though. And we're going to soar over to...
Falcons.
Yeah! To y'all. So, everybody, it is the week. It is the season. How are you feeling, man? Draft week.
Blake and I have been getting into it all day on Discord. So if you're not in there, you should join up discord.io/Blursed Sports. But yeah, we've been fired up a little bit. We have differing views on what we think the Falcons should and will do. And I'm excited about it. I'm ready to know what's going to happen as long as we've been talking about it since the season ended, really. Yeah. But it feels good that it's finally here, but I am nervous because I feel like things are starting to lean towards the Bijan Robinson.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought it up because you need to bring it up because there are fans clamoring for this guy. And I want to just talk about we've been talking about why you shouldn't draft Bijan the whole time. We really have. We've done a lot of that. And there's still 2 players I would take before Bijan if they're there at 8. But let me talk about why I think the Falcons should look at drafting Bijan. One thing is this: the Falcons have the 8th pick of the draft. Our hope and the plan is not to pick this high again for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Like, I mean, that's the plan. You
hopefully
don't,
not.
hopefully not. You don't want to pick this high. When you are picking this high, you have an advantage over the teams that aren't picking this high, and that is you can go get a playmaker that they can't get. I mean, the point of the first round draft, especially in the NFL, and having these high picks are to get change or playmakers, to get superstars that are going to become a superstar. I think there's a couple superstars we could get at pick 8, and the ones that I'm most interested in would be Tyree Wilson. He just has the physique, he has the build to become a superstar. If he was behind Campbell, he could learn and become that superstar. If he's there at 8, I think he's a smash hit. We take him. Same with Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter gave what's his name? Osiris Torrance is probably considered the best guard in the draft behind Peter Skoronski, but Peter Skoronski played tackle, so it's a little bit different comparisons, but he was considered the best. Jalen Carter gave him the smoke all day against Florida Gators. He couldn't do anything against Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is him. I know he has some character issues, but he's someone else who, like, that superstar written all over it. Both him, Tyree Wilson, and maybe Will Anderson's in that conversation too. Let's go those 3 players. I say all 3 of those are probably your bona fide stars who have the least amount of bust potential, I'll say. You still never know with an NFL player if they're going to be a bust or not. But those are the 3 I'd be like, those are superstars. They can change your play. It's like a Micah Parsons, or you know what I mean?
They could break out in a big way and make a big impact. It'll be interesting to see who potentially makes it down to 8.
And Bryce Young would be the other one I would say, but he's not going to get to us at 8. And my last player in this first round for me, for positions that make sense with the Falcons, would be Bijan Robinson. He is, and I know you're rolling your eyes at this, but he has superstar written all over him. He can catch the ball. He can run. He's a really good runner. He can do both out of the backfield. He's a good pass blocker. He makes plays happen with his legs and his hands. He can do a little bit of both.
And his head and his heart.
And his hand and his heart. Yeah. And he's got that dog in him too. So, no, but my point is this, is that I know a lot of people want Peter Skoronski there at 8. For me, if you're talking about the premium position, I know you're going to say this too, don't draft a running back at 8, and I completely agree with that. So my point is this: if Tyree Wilson, Will Anderson, and Jalen Carter aren't there at 8, trade back and then pick up Bijan. And the reason I say Bijan over everybody else is this: you can get a starting left guard who could become a superstar left guard in the 2nd, 3rd round. Even the 4th, you see that happen. You can get a starting one. We invested a 2nd and a 4th in edge guys last year, and we spent our whole offseason developing our pass rush, getting Bud Dupree in here. We also got Caden Ellis. You got Calais Campbell, who's going to play the edge for us this year. So you put a lot of effort in there. You can go maybe get Keon White in the 2nd round, who's probably just as high of a grade as Lucas Van Ness or Nolan Smith, because you're already missing out on the Jalen Carter and the Tyree Wilson. So, like, also Nolan Smith, something I said I was going to talk about on the pod this week, is that he may not be the best target for us. And the only reason I say this is because he's kind of the same player as Arnold Okabe and Doug Malone. See a better prospect than Doug Malone? Absolutely. But you drafted the guy last year who you're hoping is going to develop into a better player this year when you went and got those 2 guys.
And we got Ryan Nielsen as well, whose his specialty is defensive line. And so maybe we go and get him to develop the guys that we drafted last year. And so maybe that makes edge less of a priority.
And then same with cornerback. You went and got Mike Hughes. You got Jeff Okudah. I could see us going and getting Weatherspoon or Gonzalez. And I'm not mad at any of these. Like, I think there's a lot of great players the Falcons can go get, and I wouldn't be mad about. But the reason I'm also not mad if we went and got Bijan is because of the things I'm saying right now, is that you have a whole draft ahead of you where you can get the rest of these players you're looking for. It's not like last year where you have all these gaping holes. This offseason, we filled a lot of those holes, and we made it where you can actually fill the rest of them with a couple of different picks. So if you're trying to get that one last home run hit before you're not going to be picking in the top 10 anymore, and hopefully we don't pick, hopefully it's 20 or below for the rest on here on out. Like, we're hitting playoffs consistently. We're doing good. Like, that's the hope. I mean, that's what we want as a Falcons fans. And if that's the case, then if you can go get what's considered probably one of the top 3 best players in this draft in Bijan Robinson, I don't have an issue with that. My issue would be taking him at 8. That's where I'm at. Now, if you think the Eagles would take him at 10, that's a different story. But at that point, you got to take that risk, I guess, if you're going to trade back for Bijan.
That's so high. It's so high. And so what's the impact? We just released, which cornerback did we release?
Well, Casey Hayward, we released him. It saved us. It was at $7 million against the cap, but we took $2 million dead, so we saved $5 million. So it helped us clear up another $5 million.
So
in cap
does that
space.
open back up us potentially taking a corner in the first round now?
I don't think it does in the first round. You could, and I wouldn't. No one would argue, and you could get like you could say, you know what, we want the Legion of Boom again. We want our secondary to be like 2.0. We want our secondary to
Right.
be what stops everybody, and we feel what we've done at the edge and D line's enough. And I could get that argument. That's the thing is I could see how they could spin it a lot of different ways on who they draft because they've done a great job this offseason. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm really impressed what Terry has been able to do.
Yeah.
So if they went one of those two guys, I wouldn't be upset. And I think you would have a fantastic secondary. I just also think you could go other routes too. And I would rather draft those guys over Peter Skronsky too. I know, Anthony, you're listening to this and you hate me saying all this. I don't agree taking a guard at 8. And I know it's probably the same way you don't agree taking a running back at 8. And I will agree with that. That's why you got to trade back, get that extra pick if you're going to go get Bijan. I just think at 8, as a guard, you're paying so much for that position in a position that it helps you win games, but alone doesn't win you a game. You know what I mean? We're alone.
Yeah.
Like last year, you saw in the Falcons games, we needed someone who could just finish the game for us. We needed that superstar to get us that little extra push. We were missing Kyle Pitts in a lot of that time, but Bijan could be that guy too.
But what has Algier done to make you think that he's not that guy? He's not the game breaker, I guess, but he's consistent. His yard per carry was outstanding last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I really liked Tyler Algier, and I think he's your steady running back who can. I think running back depth is super important. I think the 49ers have proved that. Injuries happen all the time. Next guy up, they have a stable. Miami Dolphins did this too, and that's a protege of Kyle Shanahan coming over. So it's not that Tyler Algier can't do it by himself. It's that one, if you watch Caleb Huntley run last year, did you notice the difference between how he ran and Algier? Huntley ran with that violence. Like every time he touched the ball, it felt like it could break off for a ton. Algier doesn't have that breakaway speed. He does have that bowling ball mentality where I think he can get you 4 or 5 yards every carry, and I think it's really important. But he's not that home run hitter.
I'm curious if that changes this year. I've read that he's kind of thinned down a little bit.
I saw that too.
Got a little more muscular, so that'll be interesting to see if maybe he finds that gear, breaks some long runs.
I saw that too, and I'm also going to say this: I'm completely fine with us not taking Bijan and us keeping Algier and us getting like a Tajay Spears, a Kenny McIntosh, a Keaton Mitchell. I like all those guys. What I'm trying to say is I trust Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. And if they think Bijan's the best chance for us to be great next year, I trust that. And I know
you trust Art already.
As an offensive play caller,
this is his last year. If we don't make the playoffs, he's done, right? So it's high stakes. So like I guess the argument for is that if he really thinks that's going to get him into the playoffs and for him to keep his job, then that's something I support a little bit more.
But I think we'll get the playoffs regardless. I think what's important to me is that once you're in the playoffs, and I mean this when I say this, anyone has a chance to win the Super Bowl. And the reason I say, and it's not true every year, and that's not true about every team, but certain teams, if you're hot at the right moment, you can win that Super Bowl. I mean, go back and look at the year the Falcons made the Super Bowl against the Patriots. We weren't even picked in the beginning of the year to even get close to that. The Giants, the 2 years they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, both those teams, you could argue probably shouldn't even made the playoffs or you know what I mean? Or once they were in the playoffs, it's like, oh, that's an easy out. And then Eli goes on to have 1, beats the perfect Patriots, but 2, you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, and Calais Campbell said it too when we signed him, is that it doesn't matter once you make the playoffs, the hard part's making playoffs.
Sure.
I think, like you said, I think the Falcons can get there, but just to differentiate yourself and give you that extra that weapon to game plan for. Like imagine having a game plan against Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan. Like all 3 of those players.
I don't think it's that different from having the game plan normally. Like I mean,
the
main thing is we cannot. If we draft him at 8, I have a big problem with that. Mostly because we do have holes to fill, and that's having a top 10 pick at a position that we need is important. Yeah. And if we trade down and we pick up like a second round pick in addition to pick 15 or 16 in the first round, I'm okay with that. I'm more okay with it because that means we're going to be able to fill another hole with a second round pick and Bijan.
And I think that's the important part. I think that's the important part of this. And I will stand by that too. I don't feel great about taking him at 8. And on draft night, I will be upset if we take him at 8. Now, at the end of the draft, after we see how everything else plays out, I might change my mind. But I will say this right now. If we take him at 8, I will be upset on draft night. I will be.
It feels too early. I don't really believe that the Eagles will take him either.
At 10?
they already have depth, and I forget who it is.
Well, then Miles Sanders is now in Carolina.
But they've had that other guy behind him for years now. What's his name? Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell, and they also have Boston Scott. I mean, they were going to draft a running back for sure. And they could probably get Jamar Gibbs later as probably one of their thought processes there. I mean, I'm not saying this is the best pick. I want Falcons fans to be comfortable with this because there's a really good chance this does happen. Peter King, who's projected the Falcons correctly the last 2 years with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, has projected us to take Bijan. He didn't say it would happen at 8. He said he's heard a lot that Falcons want to trade back. And they've heard a lot that the Falcons are interested in Bijan. So those two things together kind of make sense. Have you heard
of like what is the return for us trading back? Is that about right? We pick up a second round pick?
It would be a second. You might be able to get more. It depends on how far back you go. Now, so if we only go back to like say 11 or 12, you're probably only going to get a second round pick. Now, if you go back to 18, maybe even 15, you might get a second and a third. You might get a second and a fourth. And you may have to give up a seventh. You know what I mean? Like you might have to like do a little bit of.
It's looking more and more likely like the last quarterback will come off the board around our pick. In my opinion.
No. So Texas, it makes things interesting that Texas has the second pick and the 12th pick because if they're not in love with a guy at 2, they shouldn't take a quarterback at 2. Like I was having this conversation in the Discord today. If you don't love the quarterback you're taking, you shouldn't take him because there are better, more stapled players that will like you were mentioning earlier. And Anthony will say this too about like Peter Skronsky. That's a player who you could plug into your line for 12 years, and hope that he would start for 12 years. Peter is a little different example because he's playing guard, but you get my point. If you're going like Paris Johnson out of Ohio State or Broderick Jones out of UGA, it'd make more sense for Houston to maybe go there, or Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson, these guys that can compete on your team for 5-10 years than it would be a quarterback that's out in 2 years if you don't love the guy. So for Texas, it seems like they may not go quarterback, and they may go quarterback at 12, and they might get Will Levis if he falls. They may go get Hendon Hooker right there because they want him. Maybe they go Anthony Richardson there at 12 instead. I don't think Texas is the team that picks Anthony Richardson. I think it's going to be a team that lets him sit for a year, but still they have more options. So it changes the flexibility here. Let me pull up. I have the draft board right in front of me. So let's say Bryce Young goes first. Let's say Texas. Well, shoot, we could just start a little mock draft if you want it.
Do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just going to make all the picks for
let's make all the picks.
Let's just do it.
So let's say Carolina does the dumb thing, takes Bryce Young. And then
I mean, that's what they're going to do. He is thrilled. The odds favorite.
How do you feel about that? I feel thrilled about it because, I think he's a good talent, but he falls into the same category as Tua to me. And he's small, he's undersized, and they don't have the talent surrounding him at all in place. They got rid.
And they don't have an offensive
They got
line.
rid of their best player for the last 5 years, DJ Moore. They sent him out of town to move up in the draft. So I think it's a mistake.
So a couple of things. I have a couple opinions on this. One, I think Tua had more weapons with him at the University of Alabama than Bryce Young did. So I think Bryce Young might be more talented than Tua is what I'm trying to say.
Could be.
But I do think you have a legitimate point that the size is scary. But I think when you have the pressure of having the first overall pick, you got to go with who you think is the most talented player. And if they think it's Bryce Young, I get it. Like I get it.
Does it scare you for the Panthers to have Bryce Young at quarterback?
No, it doesn't scare me.
I think the Falcons should beat them twice next year.
But see, that's how I feel like this about all of these players is that I'm not really scared of any of these quarterbacks 100% right now. Like, cause it's hard to know. It's not like, I feel like there's not that one guy where you're like Joe Burrow. How sure were we that Joe Burrow was going to be a stud? And he has been. Like, we were really sure. But that's far and few between when that happens.
I honestly feel that way about Stroud. Like,
you think so?
I am shocked at how he's fallen so far. And
it could be all smoke screens. It could be.
Yeah, misdirections. You never know. Or like people leaking certain information to hope that they don't have to spend as much capital to move up and stuff like
100%.
that. So,
all right, so
that definitely could be the case. But
so I have Bryce Young going 1 to Panthers. For 2, what do you want to go? Will Anderson or Paris Johnson? I've even seen Tyree Wilson go there, which I hope not.
That's what I've heard too. Let's go Tyree Wilson because I know he's one that you have targeted and would like to fall.
I mean, he's someone I would like to fall. All right, Tyree Wilson. All right, at 3, you have the Cardinals. So here's the thing. Cardinals have been talking a lot that they can trade. I think the obvious person to make sense would be Tennessee to trade up. Do you think that happens? I mean, it's been rumored this whole time that they trade.
I mean, what do they do besides that? They could take a like Will Anderson, I suppose.
They take Will Anderson probably.
Let's just do that because it'll be easier. We don't
Oh,
have
you'd
to
rather do that? Okay.
then trade down. I mean, unless you can easily trade down. I don't know.
I can easily trade down.
You pick.
I mean, I'm gonna trade because I feel like this is a trade we will see, and I'm gonna go with. It doesn't say they're interested in this pick. Whatever. I'm just gonna give them 11-3 and just offer the trade because I force this trade. I don't care. Cool.
So Titans move up to the third slot.
Move up to third slot, and all they had to do was give up their first round pick. It was just a fair trade, so they took it. Idiots. How do I go back to picking players? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Gosh, it's confusing.
So who do you think they pick there?
So I actually think they take Anthony Richardson.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I'm being serious. So Will Levis has actually been the one that's been dropping the most. Anthony Richardson, it makes sense for him to sit behind Tannehill for a year.
So they already have what's his name, Malik Willis. And they're gonna have another quarterback that isn't NFL ready.
So everything I've read about Malik Willis is that they're out on him already. Like they're done.
What the hell, man?
Yeah. Jesus. So then you have the Colts. I think the Colts make sense for them to get Stroud.
Dude, they have do Levis because they have Levis written all over them.
You
Huge
think so?
white quarterback, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. It just makes sense, man.
Over Stroud? Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that, but I think that has Colts written all over it.
Seattle, Jalen Carter.
Yeah, that's I could see.
Everyone says that. Yeah, everyone has said that. So now at 6, Will Anderson's still there at 6 with this trade. I think if you're the Lions, you take Will Anderson over either cornerback. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
I don't know what their team needs.
They've been, so it says on here wide receiver, tight end, defensive end, but they took Aiden Hutchinson last year, and a lot of people say they wouldn't pass on Will Anderson. I mean, that sounds terrifying having those two guys there.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't think they need a wide receiver. They have a pretty solid wide receiver room.
So then we have the Raiders at 7. I think they go Stroud then if he's the last quarterback there, right?
That would be the last one. So then we wouldn't be able to trade back, huh?
Well, you'd have Hendon Hooker.
Ugh, he doesn't count.
At 12.
He don't count.
Nobody's
going to trade up to 8 for Hendon Hooker. There's no way.
No, but I will say what's going to happen here is you're going to have someone trade up for I'm just going to do this. You can have someone trade up for a tackle here. So here's the thing, though. At 8, your options are Devin Witherspoon, Peter Skoronski, Christian Gonzalez, Nolan Smith, Miles Murphy. Like you go all these edges. Here's my thing. And when you watch Will Anderson go off, Jalen Carter and Tyree Wilson go off, those 3 are so much better than every other defensive player in this draft. Like, I don't think it's close. I think one of these cornerbacks could be the guy. So I'd be okay with both Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez. But, like, do you understand why I'm not high on taking Peter Skoronski at 8? Like, just to me, I just feel like if you're putting him at guard, it just seems...
If we're trading down and we pick up a second-round pick, I think it's worth it to just trade down. But in this scenario that all 4 quarterbacks have gone, I don't know that it's likely that somebody will be offering that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So the other options could be maybe the Eagles want to trade from 10 to 8 to go get Peter Skoronski because they want a guard. Maybe, and they want to jump Chicago, who's going to obviously pick a tackle. Or maybe
they want to trade up
Cardinals, or maybe the Cardinals trade back up from 11 after they traded back to go up and get the best tackle available. You know what I mean? Or maybe Houston, I mean, I guess Houston sits there at 12 for Hendon Hooker. Or maybe Green Bay now. Maybe Green Bay, after they traded Aaron Rodgers today, is like, you know what? We're going to jump up. We're going to go get a quarterback because we actually don't believe in Bryce Love. Or we're going to go interesting. Up and get,
that's
like,
the
there's
big.
A lot of possibilities.
We didn't bring that up at all, but yeah, the trade has been finalized. Aaron Rodgers is now a Jet, so that's pretty.
I think they might run Bryce Love for a year before they go quarterback because they're not in a win now mode. I don't feel like after losing your best player and your best receiver the year before.
He's been carrying them for 15 years to the playoffs on his own. Really.
Yeah. Well, in this mock, I'm just going to take Devin Witherspoon here. I mean, we can stop here at 8 after we pick. But my point is this, is like, there's a good chance that we don't have Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, or Will Anderson there at 8. And for me personally, if we don't go the cornerbacks, I'm more interested in trading back and making maybe a Bijan, or even just trading back and picking up someone a little bit later.
Yeah.
I would rather have those more picks.
Trading back and getting Nolan Smith, or trading back and getting a receiver. I don't know.
Because here,
If
yeah,
JSN falls a little bit, I'm okay with that too. I'd rather have him than Bijan myself.
Right. And I'm okay with that too. I just would rather trade back. And my point is this is that once you get past these top 3 defenders, I think there's been a lot of truth that it is a deep edge class and it's a deep class, but the talent wise drops significantly once you get to outside of this top 10. Especially when you're talking about like, I mean, Brian Branch is probably the best safety / he'd be our here's my ideal situation. You trade back, you pick up 2 picks, and you are able to get Bijan and then get Brian Branch at the end of the first round or something like that. Or not even Bijan. It doesn't have to be him. If we don't want to go running back, if that's not the plan, then go back and get an edge and also get Brian Branch. Go back and get, because here's the thing. If like say Miles Murphy is your guy, he's projected to go in 20. So then you go all the way back to 20 and someone jumps up to 8. You may get a first and second and a first for next year. Who knows what it is?
So
but
what's the furthest back that we accept a trade as far as our first round pick goes? Do we trade back? I don't think we go past 20.
No, I don't think
because
so.
Because I think we need that top end talent still.
I also think it costs a ton if you're trying to go from like 21 up to 8. I think it would just cost a ton. I don't know. I think you see us landing in the 11. Where Tennessee is at. I think you see us landing in the 11 to 18 range, probably.
Who's at 18?
That's the Lions, which they have 2 picks in the top round, but I could still see them doing something like, because for the Lions, they're in the same boat as us. They don't want to be up here again. They don't want to be up the top of the draft again. They're going to make a push to try to win their division this year.
They're a team that's close that definitely could make that push now with Aaron Rodgers out of the division. It'll be probably them and the Bears, I would imagine. I guess the Vikings are still in that mix too.
Yeah, and then that's another team who might go for a quarterback, the Vikings. They probably only got one more year.
That was weird to me too. I didn't know that they were considering a quarterback.
Yeah, I've seen Anthony Richardson drafted to them. I've also seen Hendon Hooker go to them. Dude, I've seen Anthony Richardson drop out of the top 20 and go all the way down there.
They have Cousins on a long-term deal still, don't they?
I think they only have him for one more year.
I remember they paid him a lot of money. I guess time.
Let's see.
Time is a flat circle, so maybe it's already over.
In 2023, hold up, I have it right here. So yeah, his contract ends this year.
What in the world? He's going to get another big free agency payout?
He probably will. I mean, he's 34 though.
Yeah, but like that's 3-4 years of being the same player he was.
True.
Probably without too much of a decline.
He's still a top half quarterback though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
top 15.
Dude, he might be the smartest quarterback, like deal wise. Whoever his agent is like who I would want to be my agent. He's made so much money for being
what I'm hoping,
like a mid quarterback.
Well, here's what I'm hoping Desmond Ridder becomes in the sense of being a 3rd round draft steal who just, because like he's been obviously more talented than 1st round picks. I mean, people bust every single year. Like,
dude, that's such an interesting strategy that year that they took RG3 and Kirk
2
Cousins.
Quarterbacks.
And that's like, dude, I totally get that. I was telling Blake earlier that like it would be tempting to just draft a quarterback every year and see what happens until you have your franchise quarterback. And like, I mean, you know, you're going to be eating a lot of picks, but once you have that quarterback, you have them like for their entire career, essentially. Pat Mahomes is not going to be playing anywhere else but Kansas City ever.
No. I mean,
at least until he's like 38 or 39.
No, I don't think he ever will. I was just in Kansas City last week, and not only does the city love him, but the amount of money he's invested. He just bought a soccer team there with him and his wife, or it's a girls' soccer team, I think, or it's something like that. Yes. Like the amount of money they're investing into the city is he's like never leave there.
He's a minority owner of the Royals as well.
Yes.
So like it's pretty insane, like how much he's invested in that community, and it's awesome. And he's never going to leave. He'll be there forever.
No, you're 100% right. I want here. So right now, Hayden, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I need your honest opinion.
Okay.
At eight, who would you want if they're there? Realistically, like you could say a Tyree Wilson if you fall, but like realistically, would you, or actually, don't even tell me an 8. What do you want to do draft night? Give me your like realistic, like what you want to
do. I do want to trade down, hopefully to like around 15, 16. And then we pick up a 2nd round. So in that scenario, it's hard to tell like who will be there, but
I mean, you're going to have Lucas Van Ness, Nolan Smith, Miles Murphy will be like your edge guys.
Yeah.
Cornerbacks, you're going to have Joey Porter. I don't think Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon make it that far.
Sure.
You have Jonte Banks for offensive line. You wouldn't go offensive line there unless you need a tackle. We don't need a tackle this year, so you'd wait a little bit on guard.
Yeah.
You go wide receiver, like you said, with.
I mean, JSN could be around there. I'd be okay with that, but I think
you go Brian Branch earlier, which from a value perspective is not great, but his talent is worth maybe
helps the secondary. But I think I would probably go like maybe if Nolan Smith is around there, pick him up, and that's like your edge. Then the second round you'd be going offensive line and wide receiver with the pick that you picked up. So I like Jalen Hyatt. You know, he's got that top end speed that I like. Who's the other guy?
Cedric Tillman's also another player out of Tennessee that's really good. Mims is really good.
Mingo.
Who's the guy? Mingo Flowers. What's his name?
Josh Downs. Zay Flowers is the
Zay Flowers.
So dude, a lot of those guys have that deep speed like that, and that's what we need in the offense. I think we have a quarterback that can get the ball down the field now accurately.
I think we've talked about it in the last couple of pods. Like I think there's players. We have showcased playmakers at every draft pick we have that we could go get. It really is just about your draft cluster. Who do you get in the first round, and who does it cluster in your second round, and so on and so forth. I trust Terry. Like if you look at our last two drafts, besides Jalen Mayfield, who's actually statistically like the worst guard to ever play football, which in his defense, he wasn't meant to play his first year. He wasn't. He was meant to be a backup rotating guy. And he was actually supposed to play tackle. But point is, besides him, Terry's done a great job drafting so far. Like he has. Like, I mean, you could argue value-wise, Kyle Pitts, we should have gone Micah Parsons, but like if you look at the production he's had when healthy, it's been incredible. Drake London, I think it's been a home run hit. I think Drake London's gonna be incredible this next season. Algier, you found a Richie Grant. I just think he's done a great job. So I trust his draft process and I trust who he's going to pick. So that's why I'm saying like there's not really a pick where I'd be mad on draft night.
Besides Bijan at 8.
Bijan or JSN. If he takes either one of those at 8, I will lose my mind that night. Now
I agree 100%.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday could continue and maybe we make a clear picture and I could start to copy him a little bit, but I would lose my mind that night for sure.
Well, you guys may be able to see that live. We're planning on having a live stream of us kind of taking in the draft, and we're just going to be hanging out, chatting, maybe calling a few friends that like other teams and get their takes on what their picks are. So we haven't decided if we're going to do that on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, but we'll put the information out there on social media. So we'll give you guys a heads up on that.
Yeah. Join the Discord. We'll put it in there as well.
Yeah. So what do you want to happen? What pick do you want?
Well, obviously,
or do you want to trade down as well?
No, obviously, I really want Tyree Wilson or Jalen Carter. Those are the two players I want.
They're worth it at 8.
They're worth it. I don't want to trade up for them. I mean, there are steals at 8, I think.
Yes.
Like, I think those are easily. Tyree Wilson's the one that's more of a question mark, but with just his size and the players we have on the team already, I think we could develop him into a star.
Yep.
Those are the people I want. If we traded up to go get one of those guys, I'd be floored, like happy. Like I'd actually be happy to see that. I really would. Like I wouldn't mind if that's our guy. That's gonna be a star. Let's go get him. Now, if it doesn't pan out years later, I'll be upset about it. But in the moment, I will be happy.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, I want to trade back. Like you said, I would like to trade back. I would like to pick up an extra pick, and I wouldn't be mad at who we took there. If
I think the scenario is: do 4 quarterbacks go in the top 8 picks? Like before we get a chance.
If the best gets us 3.
If all 4 go, then I think one of the guys that you want is going to be at 8.
Absolutely.
Either Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson or maybe even Will Anderson.
Will Anderson.
I think you're going to be thrilled with that pick. If only 3 go, then I think that's a situation we're going to trade back.
Yes, so absolutely.
It'll be really interesting to see. I'm really excited about it, and hopefully it goes well.
What's your one bold prediction on the draft? It doesn't have to be Falcons. It could be anything. Like, do you have a bold prediction?
I think it was bold of me to say that the Colts will end up with Will Levis.
I think it is.
At 4. Just because he's been falling a little bit, but I think he just fits their mold of what their franchise does. And like, that's also a franchise where Jim Irsay, the owner, is very involved. And it may be a situation where he takes the reins and says, we're taking him no matter what.
Yeah. No matter what, that's our guy.
Because he's got that frame, man. He's an SEC quarterback, just like Peyton. He's got a quick release. He's a big guy, way more athletic than Peyton. May not be the quarterback that Peyton was, but I think that's where he'll end up. What's your bold take?
My bold take, My bold take is this: Falcons fans, no matter what, are going to be unhappy Thursday night.
Oh,
it doesn't matter who we draft; we're going to be unhappy Thursday night. But I would challenge all of you to exercise a little bit of patience, exercise a little bit of self-control, and wait till the whole draft is over. No, my bold prediction, I don't think we'll have 4 quarterbacks go in the top 8. I think it'll only be, I think 3 will go top 8, and I think that's going to give us our trade back. And then my double bold prediction is then we trade up again into the first round. I really do think I could see us going, like, say, even if it's not Bijan with the first pick, I could see us trading back up and getting like an Osiris Torrance, or trading back up and getting a Brian Branch, or trading up and getting a Kaylee Ringo. Like, I could see us doing something like that. I don't even think Kaylee Ringo goes first round, but I could see us trading either right there at the top of the first or the end of the first, top of the second. So that's my bold prediction. I think we're gonna have 2 trades for the Falcons, one back, one up. So that's my prediction.
Houston's got that number 12 pick, so maybe we pick up their early second round pick.
Dude, you could
pick up Keeley there.
What if Houston goes Tyree Wilson at 2, and then like CJ Stroud's there at 8? They would trade with us, right, to go get CJ Stroud then? Maybe
you have to, because Jimmy G's not Jimmy G. Davis Mills is not.
No, he's not. No,
he's not. He should not be a thing anymore. It's ridiculous, and like
absolutely,
they've been tanking for years. It feels like it has to end.
Absolutely. All right, one last question for you,
please.
The Falcons draft will be considered successful if.
Okay. Let's see. Our top 4 picks, we get an edge, a wide receiver, secondary. What's the other position that I want? I don't know.
Guard.
Okay. I'll let that one be a wild card. It can be whatever you want. But so in the top 4 picks, we get a receiver, edge, and secondary. Just to buff out that defense, build that depth.
I like that. For me, it's considered successful if we get 2 starters and 3 rotating, or not 3. It doesn't be 3 rotating guys, but then a couple depth guys. Because I don't think as you get further down, just because the Falcons' talent has increased this offseason, I don't think some of these later picks will start right away. I mean, you've seen that too the last couple of years with our defense. Anyways, we've been kind of letting our picks come off the bench more.
Yeah.
So I think it's successful. We pick up 2 starters and then some rotational guys, obviously.
Dang.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, hopefully that pans out. What have they announced who's going to be the Hard Knocks team yet?
I don't think so.
I would love for it to be the Falcons this year.
I think it'd be really cool.
Just because it's like we're right on the cusp. We're not a bad team.
We are.
We're not a good team yet. So
if you like other sports content, Pat McAfee had like a 10-minute segment about Arthur Smith and the Falcons offense and how he thinks, he thinks it's one of the they showcased him a lot on the Pat McAfee show during the football season. He said it was one of the third most team they picture when it comes to like unique running plays, unique play designs, route trees, etc. Right behind Shanahan and who's the other person I mentioned?
McDaniels?
No, Chiefs.
Oh, Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. So that was pretty exciting to hear. He had a lot of nice things to say about Art Smith. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, just be happy if you're a Falcons fan right now. I feel like there's good times coming. These last 2 years, we knew we were going to be bad. I think this year it's going to be the changing point, and it's already started this offseason, but the draft night will be the exclamation point on everything.
Let's hope. Let's hope for the best. But yes. I think that's it for now. Stay tuned. Check out our social media. We'll be posting exactly what our plan is for draft night. We're going to be live somewhere, and you can join us if you like. So thanks for listening this week, everybody. And yeah, later.
Toodles.
Before you go, if you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share with your friends. If you'd like to see these mugs, all of our video podcasts are now available on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. For more content, follow at Blursed Sports on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can also follow us individually at Blursed Blake, at Blursed Hayden, and at @A_Kais. If you're interested in chatting with us directly, join our new Discord community by typing discord.io/Blursed Blursed Sports into your browser. As always, a huge shout out to our music man, Oh No, for keeping the vibe right and laying down straight slappers every week. You can find his information in the show notes. Thanks again so much for listening, and see you next week.